What's up there, guys? It's Exotia once again coming at you live from this house, complete with ghost lighting. Yeah. So, if you remember, not too long ago, I had a video where I discussed my top 6 perfect movies of all time. Um, which weren't really of all time because I don't really care for any movies that are like before 1970. I like a couple of movies from the 50s and the for like older movies, but I'm not really that big into older movies. I really don't care for the whole fake acting slash black and white crap. I'm not like Technicolor. I just don't care for old movies. Anything like before 1975, it's like, or maybe 1970. Okay, so there's a lot of 70s movies that are still pretty good. It's just them 60s and before are just like weird. I don't know. Movies were different back then. Not that I like modern movies much better. And by modern, I mean like post 2010. Anywhere in between 1970 and 2006 ish. we're good, okay. Especially the 90s, especially the early to mid 90s. 1990 and 1996 in particular had the best fucking movies ever, and the 80s. But now we're gonna be so my list. If you didn't see that last video, from number 6 to 1 was Brigsby Bear, Pump Up the Volume, Rounders, Leaves of Grass, Adventureland, and E.T. And now we're going to be discussing the next 6 on the list. So here we go. Coming in at number 6, B, or I could just say number 12, but I don't know what to do. We'll just say number 6 to 1 again. But know that this is the second set of 6. This is not. That doesn't mean this like number 1 on this list is not the best movie, because E.T. is the best movie ever made. Just remember that this is the second set of 6. So at number 6, I have Sidewalks of New York. Now, if you know who Edward Burns is, he's in other movies too. He has small parts in other movies, but he makes his own indie films, and he has since the mid '90s, since 1995, and they're all good. They're all fucking great. But Sidewalks of New York is by far his funniest film, if not his best. It's a perfect movie especially for Ed Burns. It's there aren't okay. See what the way this movie works is it's a fake documentary. It's a pseudo documentary where they're interviewing 6 people, 6 characters. And then they intercut scenes of interviews with the characters with scenes of the actual movie, of them going on about their day, And the 6 characters all kind of connect with each other in certain ways. But, they don't all know about each other, I guess you could say. So, but they do all connect. And there are a couple of different storylines going on that aren't quite as good as others, and I know I'm calling this a perfect movie. And while those lesser the storylines that aren't quite as good, and there's really only 2 characters that I don't really care for, and that's Heather Graham and Rosario Dawson. The storylines that they are a part of, well, at least the characters that they play, there's not really anything special about them. But the rest of the characters and the other storylines make up for it because they're so fucking hilarious that it just doesn't even matter. Like when those shittier storylines come on, it's not quite that big of a deal because you're just still laughing from what happened with the other guys. That it doesn't even matter. You gotta see it to understand what I mean. But Stanley Tucci, there's okay. So Ed Burns plays this guy who wants to be a an author, and I can't remember exactly what he does. He works for like a TV program, and he has this boss who's like this older guy named Carpo, who played by Dennis Farina. He's a 60-year-old guy who's like, oh, I've slept with every woman ever made. He's like, he's always trying to like help his friend who, played by Ed Burns, who had just been broken up with by his girlfriend. He's always trying to tell him to go out and sleep with a bunch of girls. He's like, just listen to me. Just trust me. I've slept with 500 women and I've left them all baying at the moon. Just spray cologne on your balls. He's just like this. He's just like he's always just like, nah, come on, just do what I tell you to do. He's one of those guys, and so then there's Rosario Dawson, who plays this school teacher who meets up with Ed Burns at a video store, and they kind of have a little quickie thing that doesn't go on for very long. And there's Heather Graham, who is a realtor who's showing Ed Burns apartments, and he kind of like wants to get with her, but she's married to Stanley Tucci, who is this 39-year-old guy. I mean, he's balding as fuck. I mean, he's definitely older than 39, but he plays a 39-year-old who is having an affair. He's married to Heather Graham, but he's having an affair with Brittany Murphy, who Brittany Murphy's character, who is 19, and it's fun. He's by far the most hilarious part of this movie because he's just like he's jealous of David Krumholtz's character, who also gets with Brittany Murphy. He's more her age, and she tries to make Stanley Tucci jealous by saying that David Krumholtz has a big dick, and Stanley Tucci's like, oh, big dick dongo. He's just like he gets so jealous, like, oh, you're just gonna go to the movies and hold this big cock. Just the whole movie is just him complaining about the guy's cock. So Sidewalks in New York. Those are the six. Those are the characters, and they all kind of intertwine with each other. But it's a perfect movie. It's perfect. It's great. Number 5. Number 5 is a David O. Russell film. He if you don't know who David O. Russell is, he writes and films these weird movies like Spanking the Monkey is about a guy who kind of like he has sex with his mom, like falls in love with his mom, and he has two movies on this list actually. This one in particular is I Heart Huckabees, number 5. I Heart Huckabees is a little hard to explain, and I'm still not really sure how to explain it. I don't really know the plot of the movie, but if you like weird and unique movies, I Heart Huckabees is fucking great, and it has Mark Wahlberg, it has Naomi Watts and Jude Law and some other people. I think it was Jonah Hill's first movie. I think. And the whole movie... Oh, and it has Jason Schwartzman, who was previously the drummer for Phantom Planet. If you don't know that. That's a fun fact for you. But he's the guy that's in all the he's in all those Wes what's his face movies. Wes what the fuck's the guy's name now? I can't remember. Wes, the fucking guy, the Royal Tenenbaums guy. You know who I'm talking about. Um, he he's the main guy in the movie, and he goes to see Dustin Hoffman and Lily Tomlin, who are these existential. I don't know how to describe it. They make you understand how the universe is all connected, and then there's this like other lady who comes around, and this French lady who like opposes them and tries to say that nothing is connected, and the whole movie is kind of like a fight about that. It's it's like I don't know how to explain it. It's such a fucking weird movie. It's hilarious. It's hilarious, and Mark Wahlberg is just fucking hilarious. You just have to watch it. It's called I Heart Huckabees. I just don't know how to explain the movie. Just go watch it. Number 4 is Red Rock West. Now, Red Rock West is a Nicolas Cage and Lara Flynn Boyle movie. It was released in 1992, straight to video, and if you weren't around back in those days, that's kind of like Netflix is now. But back then, we had movies that either came out in the theaters or they went straight to the video stores. And this was one of those straight to video movies. But there was a guy who owned a theater who saw the movie and really liked it and wanted to release it. So it was then released in theaters in certain cities. So it's about Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage he drives from Texas to Wyoming, aka Arizona, because it was filmed mostly in Arizona, with a few scenes filmed in Montana. But it's supposed to be Wyoming, and I guess it passes from Wyoming. I guess I wouldn't know the difference if I didn't know. Of course, I know what the Rocky Mountains look like, and these are definitely not the Rocky Mountains, but they are. I mean, but they're like much lower. But I think Arizona still has Rockies, does it? No. I guess they don't go that low. Anyway, but so he drives from Texas to Wyoming for a job in construction, doing an oil rig, and he can't have the job because he's a war vet and his leg's fucked up. So the guy finds out and doesn't give him the job. So then he drives into a bar, and he stops in a bar, and the owner sees his Texas plates and mistakes him for a hitman that's supposed to be driving up from Texas to kill his wife. He's paying this guy to kill his wife. And when he asks Nick Cage where he's been, he's like, you still want the job. And Nick Cage thinks, maybe he means like a bartending job. So he goes along, he plays along with it until the guy, puts a wad of cash in front of him. He's like, okay, here, this is my wife, and blah blah. He gives him the photo, and he's like, starts putting together what's happening. And the whole movie is just him basically trying to get the fuck out of this town, and things keep making him have to go back. And he has the guy after him when they figure out what's happening. Then he has the actual hitman after him when he finds out what's going on. And he's got the guy's wife, and they're trying to escape, and it's great. It's a great movie. It's perfect. Perfect film. Red Rock West. Next on the list is Silver Linings Playbook. This is the other David O. Russell film. And this is a movie that is there is nothing wrong with this movie. I can't even think of one bad thing about this movie. And there's a lot of football in the movie, and I fucking hate sports. And but it doesn't bother me. Like, this movie somehow makes me not care that there's like a bunch of football shit in it. There's Bradley Cooper, and the best way to describe this movie is Bradley Cooper is released from a mental hospital after beating the shit out of his wife's lover, or his ex-wife, I guess I should say. And he comes back to Philly. He comes back home to Philly and tries to get back to normal life. And he meets Jennifer Lawrence's character, who is fucking goddamn. Yeah, you just gotta see the movie. She's very alluring in this movie. She just has that energy where I don't know. She just has this energy about her. And he ends up, having to help her with this dance thing that she's doing, this dance competition, in order for her to pass a letter along to his ex-wife, which he's trying to, win back. And that's basically the movie. But there's like this whole other subplot where his dad, played by Robert De Niro, is obsessed with football. And he thinks that he's a good luck charm, and he's flipping out the whole movie over football, and it's hilarious. It's fucking hilarious. This whole movie is fucking hilarious. And Bradley Cooper is fucking hilarious. Robert De Niro is fucking hilarious. Jennifer Lawrence is just banging hot. Fucking and just Silver Linings Playbook. It's a great movie. And number 2, we have a movie called Adam, which was a 2009 film about a guy with Asperger's, and he falls in love with Rose Byrne's character, who is a normal woman. She moves into his building, and she meets him and doesn't really understand why he is the way he is. She doesn't know what's up with him at first. She just thinks he's like kind of rude, or like there's something off about him. And then she finds out he has Asperger's, but then she kind of likes him at the same time. So she's kind of trying to figure out if she can have a relationship with the guy. And it's hilarious. It's hilarious. This guy, the guy that I forget his name, Patrick Dancy. I forget the guy's name. He's so good in this movie. He's a British guy, and you wouldn't even imagine. He sounds, he does a great American accent. But what the fuck is his name? Something Dancy, and I can't remember his first name. But he's so good with the whole Asperger's thing. It's a phenomenal fucking movie, and it's hilarious at the same time. The way he gets so obsessed with talking about space to people that he thinks are interested, and really they're just making conversation, but he can't figure that out. He takes it seriously, kind of like I do with chicks sometimes, and he takes it seriously, and he starts going off about telescopes and all different kinds of shit. And it's a great movie. It's called Adam. And then number 1, 1B, number 1, we have Sideways, a movie called Sideways, which came out, I think, 2002 or 2001, somewhere around there, somewhere back in the early 2000s. It's called Sideways. Now, to hear the synopsis is kind of like, you would think it's the most boring thing ever. You would think it would be the most boring film ever made. It's about a couple of guys who go on a road trip to taste wine. They just basically go around, driving around to try different wines and to have like a little bachelor getaway before the one guy gets married. And they kind of meet up with women. They meet up with these two women that the guy that's taking him out on this trip, played by Paul Giamatti, The other guy is Thomas Hayden Church, and from Wings, if anybody used to watch Wings back in the 90s. Paul Giamatti's taking him out, and he's the one, showing him around and teaching him about wine. He meets up with this girl that he knows, I guess, from his previous trips. I don't know how he knows. I guess, yeah, it would have to be from previous visits to these restaurants, or this restaurant or whatever, where she works. Played by, what the fuck is her name? Virginia Madsen. And she has a friend that's played by Stephanie Oh. Who ends up having kind of an affair, I guess you could call it, with the Thomas Hayden Church guy who's getting married. And he just kind of fucks around with her, the whole time. And pretty much ignores Paul Giamatti, just leaves him, on his own. It's a great movie. It's fucking hilarious. Fucking hilarious. It's fucking hilarious. It's great. It's great. That's my Paul Giamatti imitation. That's great. It's you just have to see the movie. It's called Sideways. That is the second list of 6 perfect films. And I guess I have to give one honorable mention, as I did in the last video, which was American History X. This one will be a movie called Beautiful Girls, which is not about beautiful girls. It's a movie about a guy that goes home to his old high school town, I guess, his old hometown, for his school reunion. And it's one of those movies, as I was discussing in the last video, that makes you want to live in that town. It makes you want to live in that town, that specific town. Even though it's a fictitious town in Massachusetts, even though it was filmed in Minnesota, it makes you want to live there with those people, like hang out with those people. And I love movies like that. It just makes me like feel like, yeah, I could live in that kind of, you know what I mean? That's all it is. It's a movie about a guy who goes home for his high school reunion and hangs out with his buddies. It's so good, though. It just has such a good cast, and it's just one of those character movies. You have to get into it. But it was one of Natalie Portman's first movies. I think it might have been her first movie. No. It was after Leon. She was slightly older in this movie, and there is kind of a subplot with the main guy who goes home to his to the town. There is kind of a subplot where he kind of has a thing for Natalie Portman, who is a 13-year-old girl. I don't know how old she actually was, but she was young. And a lot of people get weirded out by that. But it's not meant to be like a sexual thing. It's not meant to be like, oh yeah, he's gonna try to fuck her or anything. It's like, he's just kind of like, it makes him wish he could be that age again, kind of thing. He sees that she's gonna grow up to be this amazing person, and it's not like he's actually trying to get with her. But I could see how people would assume that. The way the dialogue is written, it is a bit awkward, but it's not meant to be. It's not meant to be a sexual thing, but it's a damn good movie, and it's called Beautiful Girls. Anyway, until next time, I hope you enjoy watching all these movies, because your life will be over soon, and you won't be able to do anything.